And joining us now, we've got Molly Jong-Fast, special correspondent for Vanity Fair and host of the Fast Politics podcast. Molly, just really quickly, looking at those images of the protests across the country, what's your takeaway? Are they big enough? Will they matter? Will they make a difference?
Well, first of all, I think it's really important to remember that everything matters, right? That the worst thing we can do in this moment is to dismiss anything, right? Cory Booker, some people said it didn't matter. Millions of people watched that, right? He connected to so many people, more people than probably were even focused on Congress. And I think that it's important to remember that all of this matters. Now, that said, all my social media feed is filled with people in protest. My father just FaceTimed me from a protest. He was going to go to a protest a little further away, and then there was another protest even closer. I mean, there's just a ton of protesting, and I think what's important here is these protests are for what Trump has done. Trump has been president for 75 days. We are not even 100 days into this thing. And, the tariffs, the crashing the market, that's just a part of it. I mean, there's also disappearing grad students, sending people to prisons, defying court orders. There are so many reasons these people are out there, and they're all things that have happened in the last 75 days.
Molly, the other big issue that we're hearing people protest today is Elon Musk, and he shared a post claiming protesters are being paid, calling them uprisings and terror. The post said, quote, Democratic billionaires who are funding them should be held accountable, and Musk said, quote, they will be. How much of their concern is there that protests could be targeted?
I think there's a real worry, but, there's a lot of protests. And I think it's important to remember that there's a huge amount of this country that does not like this MAGA agenda, right? That is just 70% of the country is in the middle. They just want normal life. They don't want, this kind of authoritarian sort of friendly Republican thing that Trump is doing right now. So I do think there's a real sense in which this is just not very popular. He won the popular vote this time. He didn't win it the first time. And a lot, and what we saw in Wisconsin is that it's just, Wisconsin is a state that's very split, and Democrats really did improve their margins by a lot in that Supreme Court race. And even in Florida, Republicans are staying home. This agenda is too extreme, and that is why we're seeing people on the streets. And this is what happened the last time in Trump's first term. So I don't think that I do not think that they can message against something like this, because it's very clear. Also, Trump is in a defensive crouch now because of the tariffs. He's done something that's wildly unpopular, that's freaking out even Republican senators. And now he's just sort of backed himself into a corner yet again.
I mean, even before these protests, even before the tariffs, prompted this stock market meltdown, you published a piece on Tuesday titled "Donald Trump's Honeymoon is Over." So talk to us about why you say that. And, you just touched on it a little bit, but do you see this potentially changing minds of these Trump voters who are beyond loyal to him, it seems, in almost all circumstances? Could this be the time, the issue that starts to shake some of them loose?
Well, look, he ran on this idea that he was going to make things less expensive, right? That voters were upset about inflation and that they wanted things cheaper. He even had this thing, the weave, and he would say bacon, and it meant that he would make bacon cheaper. So what does he do? He enacts tariffs. What will tariffs do? They're wildly inflationary. They will make things more expensive. This is exactly the opposite of why he was put in office. That's just sort of one aspect of the admin. There are other things he's doing that are scary in other ways. And I heard the interview with the protesters, the disappearing grad students, the putting people in jails, the, defying court orders. These are things that voters do not like. So I do think this is a country where they were able to once before resist Trumpism and go to the streets and explain to their elected leaders that they didn't like this. And so that's what we're seeing again. And I think what Cory Booker did was really, this week we saw Cory Booker, we saw Obama, and we saw Harris all come out and say, people need to stand up for their rights. They need to remind, electeds that they serve at the pleasure of the people. And that's what we're seeing.
All right, Molly Jong-Fast, thank you so much. And